All righty. Yeah, looks like we're live. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through the Alteryx weekly challenge. And we got a new one today. It posted a little bit late. But what I wanted to do is kind of go through a process of how I approach the challenge. And we'll kind of work through it together. If you want to work on it at home, if you have Alteryx, or if you just want to kind of pop in and ask questions, that's cool too. Yeah, just kind of wanted to put some content out there, and I've invited a couple of people that I don't know yet to hop on and chat. I don't know if they're going to show. I'm hopeful because I'm required to talk to strangers every day for the next 30 days, which is a little scary. But without further ado, let's start going through how I tend to do these weekly challenges. All right, so we are into the Alteryx community. I should say welcome for those that are watching. And if you want to put comments in the chat, I'm on StreamYard. It will come up. For most of the time, you're going to see me looking off to the side. That's looking at my my work screen over here, where we've got the download going. In 1 second. Sorry if you hear a ringing in the background. That's my dinner's ready. So, alrighty. So we're here in the Alteryx community, and we're going to go up to our drop-down menus up here. So this is the base screen right here, and we're going to go into Academy and Weekly Challenge. You can also click that tile right there, and it'll give you a weekly challenge tile. Either way is good. And it's going to sort it by most recent. You can see this one right here. They're all numbered. This one right here, spelling bee, that is our most recent one. You can see there's only been 25 replies. You can see the older ones, they tend to kind of pile up over time. They post these Monday mornings, generally posted around 6 o'clock. Today's was a little late. And then they had to post a correction. You can see some of these get up to like 10 plus pages of replies. Today, we only have 3 so far. All right, so going into our spelling bee challenge. So there's a few steps that I like to go through here when approaching one of these challenges. The first one is just give the instructions a basic read through. And if you do that here from this screen, you're gonna keep yourself from kind of peeking ahead at what the data looks like and kind of cheating. And what I like to do is try and figure out what do we think the problem's going to look like? What do we think the solution is going to be? And so just reading through here, so based on data provided, your task is to find all possible words in the spelling bee puzzle sorted by length descending, okay? The spelling bee puzzle is a grid of 7 letters. The rules for valid words are, number 1, you must only use letters found in the grid, and you see the kind of graphic right there. The grid is the letters in Alteryx. You must use the center letter at least once in each word, so E has to be present in everything. Words have to contain at least 4 letters. Letters can be used more than once. And the first input contains the grid of letters. Okay, so that's getting into what it's actually going to look like. But already we can kind of scope out this problem. We can see that there are some things there. Even before looking at the tags at the bottom of the screen, we can see that there's some sorting to be done here. There's probably some joining and matching to be done. So let's look down at the tags at the bottom of the screen. Okay, core, so that's going to tell us kind of the skills that we're going to have to use. The tools that we're using are basically the tools on the core certification. So the most basic set of tools. We're not doing any predictive stuff here, not using APIs or anything advanced like that. And then intermediate is telling us what's the difficulty level. So obviously this is not going to be just kind of your standard take a data set, rack it, stack it certain ways, do like kind of an Alteryx version of a SQL query. There's going to be some thought that's going to have to go into this. We're going to have to use joins. We're going to have to use our preparation tools. So obviously sort and filter are clearly going to be in there. And then transformation tools. So summarize, crosstab, those sort of things. So without further ado, let's download our start file. And we have another data file here that we'll have to look at. Okay, so you see the first responses. All right, this text file obviously is needed, so let's download that too. And it looks like these responses say, okay, yeah, so they did have to edit it when they first posted it because this was a missing file. All right. So let's just open her up. If you have Alteryx Designer on your machine, it's going to pop up in Designer. Okay, and so this is in the downloads folder. Okay, so this is a path. This is a path to something on the machine of the person that designed it. So obviously we just downloaded this input file. Let's go ahead and run it, and we're going to get an error because, oh, no, we're not. Silly me. Okay, got it. So these are both in the downloads. So what happens is the workflow and the associated files are in the downloads folder, and that words.txt file is also in the downloads folder. So it's looking for it and it's finding it right there in the same folder. So we're good. Okay. So read through the instructions. We put together a basic game plan. Now we've opened the workflow. We've given it one run. One thing I like to change right off the bat is connection progress right here. It defaults to show only when running. I always like to see the numbers of everything going through the workflow, especially when I'm working with a workflow that's a little bit small. Sometimes if you get really big and complex workflows, this gets obnoxious, but I like to show the progress all the time. And so what we can figure out here is, let's look over at our outputs right off the bat. We know already we need 171 rows of data in our outputs, okay? And we'll look a little bit later to see what form that needs to take. But for right now, let's kind of scoot the outputs out of the way and just let them sit over there. Okay. And then these inputs over here, so we have, all right, so right here we have our grid, which is represented by this graphic. So I always like to clean a little bit as I go. So obviously this is just kind of a pretty it up thing. This is the actual data input you need here. So we don't need Mr. B and his nice little cloverleaf Alteryx formation there. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking for, those letters in this data file. Okay. And here is a list of 172,821 words. You got a little preview here. If you want to see every stinking one of them, you can look here into this browse tool, but that's what we've got to match to. Okay, let's get to work. First thing is just delete that box. We know it's the inputs. Neat, thanks. So what's our problem here? Always good to just, once you've got to look at the data, look back at your instructions and start forming a game plan. Okay, so you must only use the letters found in the grid. So that means we need to kind of manipulate this because we can't work with this. We've got null fields right here. Here, let's bring this up a little bit more. We've got null fields right here. You can't really, field 1, 2, and 3, that's not helping us. And so what we need is that kind of either in a row, in column, concatenated something. So sometimes that margin gets a little tough to pick up. Okay, and then our words file. Gotta work out what we want to do with that. Okay, so we've got to match the letters. So we've got to find if we find these words, we don't really need that browse anymore, so let's get rid of that. So if we kind of parse this, let's go with a regex tool. With regex, we can tokenize the letters. Or, yeah. So with regex, we can just check and see, we can just get rid of all the words that don't have, like aardvark obviously has letters that are not in Alteryx. So if we match the letters to, let's see. So in Alteryx, if you use the regex tool, someone corrected me the other day and said it's regex, it's regular expressions, whatever. If you use the regex or regex tool, you get this kind of built-in cheat sheet right here. And this is just very basic regex stuff, but any one character in the set, any one character. So let's go not in the set. Okay, and so it brings it up, and then you need to, actually, you need to get rid of that drop down. But so we're going to need to, if we find the ones that are not, yeah, let's find the ones that are not in the set. And then not too many hotkeys in Alteryx, but there's a couple that are useful. Control-Shift-B gives you a browse on the tagged on the end on every output anchor of the tool you're working with. And then Control-R runs the workflow. And we're not touching the mouse, which is always faster. Okay. So let's see. Oh, we didn't set it. Replace. Okay, so the regex tool is going to default to replace. Let's not do that. Let's parse it. To parse it, we've got to put it in parentheses. And then if you have it properly in parentheses, it's going to show what's actually going to come out, and then the expression. Let me widen this out just a bit. There's your expression. It's going to parse out any letter that's not in the word Alteryx. Okay, so now let's run it again. Okay, and it defaults to the field coming out is going to be regex out 1. Okay. And so if we open that up, we can see, okay, AAH, AA is good, H is not. So it parsed out H and said, you can't have that. It's only going to give you the first instance. So like Alteryx has no G or N or I or H. It's only going to give you the H, but that's enough. So any word in field 1 that meets our criteria for using only the letters found in the grid. So that first criteria is going to result in a null in regex out 1. Okay. Before we move on, let's just rename that field because you can do that in the tool, and let's call it band letters. All right. So, okay, so we've met that. Couple limitations with the regex tool. You can do regex in other tools. It's a little less, it doesn't hold you by the hand quite as well as the regex tool does. So let's pull our browse out because we're gonna have to stick some more stuff on this string. So anyway, we've got our band letters. We know that we can then filter this out to only get the good things. The problem with the regex tool is you can only do one thing at a time. So you can parse, you can tokenize, you can whatever, but you can only do one thing. Now you can do multiple parses if you wanted to pull different things out of that. But then you can't do either or, it would match all of it. So in order to find those that have an E in them, we're gonna have to pull another one. So let's go, anything in the set of E. Let's see this. Defaults to replace, we want it to parse. Or we could set it to match. I'm more comfortable with parse. I usually like to have like some sort of positive output. But let's see what that looks like. Yeah, we pulled it from field one. Okay. All right, so now we have something we can actually filter, because now we're starting to fulfill more than one criteria. So must only use letters found in the grid. Banned letters right here, so the nulls are good. You must use the center letter E at least once in each word. Now we've parsed out the E, so we've got these. So if we have a positive value of E here, then we know that this is good. There are much more efficient ways to do this. I'm just kind of muddling through it. Words must contain at least 4 letters. We're not going to do that with parse. We can do that with something else. But now we can start filtering. So let's put a filter in here, and we're going to filter on multiple criteria. So our first criteria is going to be, and you can start building a basic filter up here. First of all, let's have our regex come out something that we like. Okay, so let's call this Mando E. Mando short for mandatory, for anybody in the military, you know that. So mandatory E has a positive value there. So let's filter this. Basic letters is null. Okay, but now I realize, hey, basic filter is not going to be good enough. We have multiple criteria to filter on. So let's go to a custom filter. Is null, banned letters. Now we've got multiple criteria and we have to meet them all. So we need an and operator. I always like to go to another line to type my next criterion. You don't have to. You're just a complete savage. And so the next, what we need there in the Mando E column is not null. The way we do not, it shows you right there, is with an exclamation point. So not is null. And then okay, so if we have a null value in banned letters, and if we have a non-null value in the mandatory E column, then we fit those first 2 criteria. And what's our next criteria? Words must contain at least 4 letters. We can code that out as well. We do a length function. What's our string? Field 1. Length of field 1 is greater than or equal to 4. Sometimes I do like to put 1 tool per, because it just makes it easier to see. And I've been in a place where it was best to, what's up, Dave? Where it was best to have very traceable and followable workflows. So this one, I think we can keep it a little simple. I'm already making a bit clunky, but let's just run it and see how it goes. See what kind of numbers we get. Oh, and that is dead on. We've found our 171 outcomes. So the number's right. Now we've got some schmutz in here, and we've got some more stuff we've got to mess with. But we've got the right entries in field 1 here. So if we clean that up, we can match it. Okay, let's look at what we have to do here, because right now this input here I just hand jammed in. So we need to have this be automatable, and so we've got to feed this in this grid, the Alteryx grid. Yeah, neat. It's been a while since I did a live session, so I'm a little rusty. So it's probably good there's only 2 people watching. Who's the other one? Is that you, Matt? Okay. Hey, if you're one of the people I invited, not that I don't invite Abe and Matt, but yeah, if you're one of the people that's invited, just hop on, click that link I gave you, and let's chat. So we have the right answer, but we don't have an automatable function. Let's just get this text input into something that we can mess with, and then we're gonna have to do something with these regex functions. We're going to do it somewhere else. Oh, yeah, you like the shirt? This is like a Kansas City shirt. I got this from my father-in-law. Yeah. What's up, Elena? Aw, thank you. Okay. So let's play with this text input. And what we're going to have to do, we talked about having to do some transform functions. We definitely are going to have to do those here. So let's pull up our, not that goofball. Okay, let's pull up our transform menu. Here it is right here. The transform tools you tend to use, we said this was core level. The core level tools are really the core level tool is summarize. But crosstab and transpose, they'll touch on a little bit in core tools. So what we want to do right here is we want to get this into column so we can filter out these nulls. That's the best way to do that. And just when you're working with something goofy like this, where you want to get some blanks out of there, and it's not whole null columns and rows, it's not something you can convert with a cleansing tool. If you need to get like kind of surgical individual cells out, it feels a little weird. It feels like you're gonna slow down your workflow and make like 10 million rows. It's not a big deal. Just transpose the whole thing into column. It really doesn't take that long, and you're just gonna be better off if you just get rid of all the crap. So let's get rid of all the crap. And just for the sake of cleanliness and efficiency, let's put this in a container and turn it off. So that way all we're running is this right here. And you know what? Output, I'm going to turn you off too. Here we go. All right, and we don't need that box. There we go. All right, clean, nice and neat. Okay, so here's what happened when we transposed everything into column. So you see we've got Alteryx spelled out. We got a couple of fields null there. So what we can do now is we can go back to filter. We can get rid of those nulls. So we can just say filter for those where value is not null. Bless you. That's my wife sneezing in the other room. So that's going to help us. And then this we need to change because these field names, like I said, they're not material. They're not helping us at all. So we are going to need to crosstab back. Let's just attach that now. We're going to need to change names, and we're going to need to put some new values in this column. All right, let's run this. I take an error because I haven't configured that crosstab, but sometimes you just need to get your data downrange. Okay, so what's happened here is those nulls have gone away. I feel very uncomfortable with empty output anchors, and I just like to see the little numbers that come out from the tools. So almost always if I have an anchor that with data that I no longer care about, I still want to put a browse tool on it. Just because I like to see where my data is going. And if it's stopping right here, I want to see it go in there and stop. So we're going to take this crosstab and we need a formula to drop on that line. Okay, so what we got, like I said, what we got coming out is pure Alteryx right here. So that value is good. Don't really like that field name necessarily. Anytime you transpose, the data columns that you transpose are going to come out name and value when they pivot over into column. So there's no way with the transpose tool to rename those. You just got to live with it until you can fix it. Can't fix it in the filter tool. So we're coming down range. Okay, so this name here, we want to change that to something that can be a header because we're going to pivot everything back and concatenate all this into one word so we can match it. Okay. So we can call it grid or letter, but name here, let's just call it grid. Okay. So what this is going to do is in the name column, it's going to fill in the word, you see data preview here. It's going to fill in the word grid for everything. And then that's going to become our header. What do we need to fix? Anything else? We don't, because I'll show you why. Okay, I said the value name field name was not good, but that's going to go away. Here we go. Once we cross tab and this sends it back into row form, we are not going to group by anything. This is a very small data set. We're just trying to make one entry that we can match. So column headers is going to be name. And what's going to happen is the column header does not become name. The column headers become the value in the name column. Okay. Which that's not going to be name anymore. Sometimes you have to run it, even take an error, just to feed the right data, because you're going to see, oh, it's still name. Never mind. Grid is the value. Okay. So column headers is going to be name, and that column header is going to become the word grid. And then values for new columns is obviously going to be that other column, which is value. But then what we want to do, the method for aggregating values, obviously, so what's going to happen is grid, 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 grid. That's all going to become one heading. Now we've got to figure out what we want to do with this. Do we just want the first value, the last value, or for strings, the only other option is concatenate. We do want to concatenate because we want to make a word out of Alteryx, okay? So we're going to concatenate. Everything else is good. We do not want a separator because then it would be A, comma, L, comma, T. We want a word. So let's give it a browse tool and see what it looks like. Beautiful. Grid, Alteryx, okay? Now we can match it up. Now the problem that we have is there are other limitations to the regex tool. The other limitation is you can see this little green in anchor. Let me zoom in a little bit for the folks. This little green in anchor here, it only takes, because it's green, you can only put one input. If it had like a little black kind of forward arrow chevron right there, you could put multiple inputs. So like a join multiple, you can see the little black kind of sideways chevron looking thingy. You can put different inputs into there. If it's green, you can only do one. So the problem that we're going to run into with this avenue of approach I picked here with these regex tools is the regex tool only accepts one input, but we need to be able to join this in. And you can't do that without, I suppose you could do it with like interface tools, but that'd be a nightmare. So what I'm going to do now is kind of, we figured out that we got the right answer, and that is delightful. But we're going to kind of take this on a different path. I mentioned earlier, there are different ways you can use regex. You can use regex in a formula, which is the way I usually use it. You can use it in a filter. I kind of prefer to do these things step by step to keep them kind of simple. So we're going to tag a formula on here, and we're going to do our regex over again. Don't worry, it'll be simple. So what do we need to regex on? We only have one field, and that's field 1. And so we need to trying to think what's the best. Let's just bring up our regex functions. We don't want to count matches. The matcher we can replace. We're going to match. Okay. And we're going to match in the only string we have, which is field 1. We got that. Got to get that pattern in here. Okay. So that's where the joins come in. Yep. All right. Let's drag this bad boy all the way over here. We're going to tag that. No, silly. I don't want you in that target. Okay. So this big data file is going to be the source. And then we're going to take our Alteryx and put that into the target. I think that's what it is. I think the target gets appended to the source. If it doesn't, we're going to find out real quick because it's going to break. Yeah, that's backwards. Dang. Okay. Yep. So it broke. So let's, because I hate crossing wires. First of all, let's put this in a container. And let's name our containers as we go. So this is transform, Alteryx. All right, so that needs to be the source. That's what it is. So if you got a big file, you want that to be your target. Because there's a limit to how many, this makes a cross join. So you don't want to cross join giant inputs like 172,000 of those. So right here, we're going to bring that in. Eventually, we'll delete that browse. But yeah, so a cross join, taking this right here. So we've got one input here. So all this is going to do is append, the tool is called append fields. It's really a cross join. It's going to append this word Alteryx to this whole file. So it's not going to give us any more rows than we already have, I think. There we go. All right, that worked. The error came from our formula because we haven't configured it properly yet. But okay, so now what we have, field 1, which we can rename it in the append field. So let's rename it. Field 1 is going to be words. Okay. So now we have, it won't show because we haven't run it, but yeah, I gotcha. That's the angry noise. That means it didn't work. So field 1, words, is all of our words, all 172,000 and change. And then the grid is Alteryx. And you can see, if I expand this out, Alteryx is on every one of them. Now we can perform our regex on these and match them up. So let us match field 1. And then we need to okay, so we're matching field 1 with the letters in grid, but the thing is, all this is going to do is supply the letters. That's not in regex form, so we got to make it into regex form to perform the regex function. So we're going to have to put square brackets around it, and then add it together because it's a string. And then square bracket on the other side. Okay. Let's give it a try. Control-Shift-B to get the browse tool. Control-R to run it. Dang you. Unknown variable field 1. Oh, we changed it. That's what it was. Okay. Words. It's not field 1 anymore. Actually, let's make a different output column. Let's just call it regex. We no longer have any regex outputs in this path. Hey, happy noise. Okay. So let's look at what we got in our browse. Bunch of zeros. Not. Okay. Yep, they all zeroed out. That didn't work. There we go. Okay. So I'm terrible at regex. So you had to put the plus is on there to say it match one or more of those letters. Like anything from that set, one or more. Otherwise, it matches the whole thing. I think. Okay. Either way, the ones, I mean, let's just sanity check it. AA matches, AAH does not. Head, like, what are these words? Hing, that's a word. Oz, I guess. Okay. All. These must be other languages. Anyway. Okay. So we've got our regex function to work. So let's just kind of, for the sake of clarity, and my sanity, let's pull that out. Let's disconnect this silly guy. Let's take this container over here, because you don't want to throw stuff away too much, but you do want to turn it off for efficiency. Okay. All right, so what do we have now? We now have this column, which shows us a non-zero value for the words that fit that first criterion. Now we can, like I said, I like breaking stuff down Barney style, so let's make another column, and let's make our Mando E again. Okay. And then we don't need regex for that. All we need is words, and that the target is E. And these formulas are, they are non-case sensitive. Yep, so there we go. We've got an E, yes, even though it doesn't match Alteryx, but we've got a non-zero value in that. I don't remember why that's a -1. Someone explained that to me one time, but before I start teaching this, I should probably figure that out. Okay, so we've got the first two requirements: only letters found in the grid, center letter, which is E, at least once, and okay, at least 4 letters. Yeah, easy day. Let's just filter. I prefer that. And plus, we can filter out all this other junk now. Probably could have done that earlier. But anyway, words must contain at least 4 letters. We'll do a filter for that. Letters can be used more than once. Got it. We've already allowed for that in the regex. And you can see head, whatever that is, that fit fine. So, okay. Let us filter again. Let's go with the regex field. Does not equal 0. That's O. And the Mando E field does not equal 0. Why doesn't that let me? Oh, all right. Yeah, so when you create, this always trips me up. When you create a field in a formula, it's going to default to a string field. This, we could probably make it a byte, but let's just make it integer 16 because I have nightmares about truncated fields. Okay, see, and now it's all nice and brightly colored, which means it's all working. Okay, so regex does not equal 0, Mando E does not equal 0, and then our and function and length of our words we did before, greater than or equal to 4. And no whammies, it should give us the same number. And it does, 171. All right. So that looks like a winning solution that is repeatable. It takes the inputs that we have and uses them. We've got some cleanup to do to match the output. Let's turn on the output and just see what that looks like. All right, so they've got word and length. We have words, and we did not determine the length. Okay, so probably best way to do that is just go back here to this formula. Let's make a length column, add column, length of the words column, and that should be a winner. And then, all right, clean up. Everybody do their share. So what we need to do here is select, and just to be super detailed, you know what, let's change it. Where do we make the column words? Can't do it there. Oh, it was in our pen fields. Yep. So solution has word. We'll call it word. And then we've got to change it. That's the pain in the butt about changing a column name, is sometimes you have to kind of follow it through and change everything else that freaks out because they say, we don't know this word field that you speak of. So, and then there. We'll mark that down for a fix later. Okay, so we no longer need our grid column, our regex column, our Mando E column. All we need is word and length. So we got one more step, but let me run it just to show you what we need to do. Okay, and then what was the sorted by length descending? Okay, so another prep tool, we're going to put our sort in here. We're going to sort by length. Come on now. Probably need to zoom in on some of these. I'm getting old. All right, length descending. And let's see if our order matches. Okay. So what are our first few words? Tattletale, laterally, retreater, axle tree. Weird. Okay. Dead on. All right. So now just, okay. So we've met all the criteria. So let's clean up some of this junk. So we've got our transform Alteryx box. I like putting things into containers so they just kind of make sense. Transform Alteryx, and then let's do a tool container here. Oh, I don't know if I got that container. Nope, I didn't. Okay, so what shall we name this container? Join and regex functions. Wow. Spelling fail for me today. Okay. So now we got two nice little containers. We're going to kind of pretty this up in a minute here. There's no real way to move that. Okay. Now that we've got the solution, we're going to go ahead and delete that unneeded container because we're going to make this as pretty as possible. This container here. So that is our output. And what we're going to do with that is I always like to have an absolute backstop for this. So we're going to rename this container as check outputs. And what we're going to do is run this one in here. We are going to join on word. And then we'll call this output word. In this field here, output length. That is not spelled right at all. output length. Okay. And then, so word, we're joining on the common field. All right, so click on that join tool, Control-Shift-B gives you that nice little hydra of browse tools there. And let's see what numbers come out. 171 perfectly joined, zeros on the flanks. So that is a winner. So just to tidy things up, we no longer need this output here, or this browse here. No longer need this browse here. I'm still going to leave this one here because that's coming off of an anchor. But now, we've got this kind of nice and neat. Look how pretty that is. All right. That's good enough. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, I probably should have done this at the start, but we're going to save as. Now, I usually like to just replace this start file with my name, which is Bellamy. All right, challenge 356, Bellamy, and that is a winner. Now, some cool things you can do to make it just a little bit more visually appealing for the final output. Yes, Abe, you have to wait till next week for another episode of this. Show some restraint. Okay. But yeah, so we've got all these named. That's cool. Let's just do some beautification here. Like let's have this nice, like that peach color. That's always nice. You don't want to go too dark on these colors because then it gets tough to see what they're doing, but just make some nice, let's go with a nice yellow. Abe's a Michigan fan, so he appreciates this weak blue and yellow combination here. Anyway, let's put that words input right there into the join tool. Okay. That looks nice. Okay. So for reasons that will soon become apparent, let's take all of these, put them in a big container that is going to be challenge 356 Bellamy. Okay, then we want to make our background on this white again for reasons which will soon become apparent. And now we're going for the real artistic stuff. So let's go here. Let's just find a nice picture to put on it. Spelling bee. Okay. What picture do we like? What's up, Fernando? Snuck in there. You don't want it too dark because you're going to have to lighten it up anyway to see all the tools in front of it. Let's see if we can download this one. Just put it in downloads where we have the other one. Spelling bee. Oops. It is a JPEG. That's good. That means we can use it. All right. Okay, so going to our favorites. We're going to bring down a comment. We're going to zoom way out because we got to make this thing big. And then we're going to go for background image, downloads. Oh, where'd you go? Did you go into pictures? Uh-oh. Yeah, sit downloads. Weird, I don't see it. Oh, because it came in as a JFIF. All right, let's. All right, let's use that one. Here we go. Got to click off it to have it apply, and we've got a spelling bee picture. Now you got to kind of massage this a little bit, and you have to send it to back. And then, oh, I know what I forgot to do. Go into downloads and tweak this a little bit to make it a little brighter. Edit. This guy, I think Icarus, I usually go with. Yeah, fade that out real nice. Super clear. Dang it, I don't know where I saved it. Give it to you. Yep, went into weekly challenges. Here we go. I know it went somewhere weird. All right, now let's put it in. Downloads, spelling, all nice and washed out. All right, it's a little too big, but we're good. It'll look nice when we're done. Okay, so we got a couple minutes left. What I like to do is go in and just annotate, because that's just always helpful, okay? So, grid input. We do right here. Goes into column. Filter null values. This one right here. Sometimes you got to kind of flip them, put the annotation on the top. This one right here, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think we need an annotation there. This one here, sometimes you got to click back in your configuration. So we cross-tab or pivot to one word, one word. Sometimes my Bluetooth keyboard cuts out on me. Okay. And alter to words. Probably leave that there because it actually shows what you did. So here in the select, what do we do? Move unwanted fields, good. Length descending, that's fine. Final output, check. We are annotated. So usually what you want to do, you want to put a snapshot in your output. And so you can close out these other panes by doing some shortcuts. Control-Alt-C is going to close your configuration pane. We don't need that. If you didn't want the results, you could cut that out with Control-Alt-R. I'm going to keep that in there. And so let's just do a screen capture. That shows our pretty picture. what we actually did. And then let's save that to our downloads. So we can bundle that all together. But then now we can just take it and put it into our community. So we're going back. Don't need our pictures anymore. Let's go back here. Give them a little thumbs up for the effort. Thanks for writing this challenge. Oop, did I just unfavorite it? I think I did. Dang. Slow to respond. Okay. So let's go to reply. Now, the thing that most people like to do here is they want to put a screenshot, but you don't want people scrolling through to see your solution unless they really want to see it. If they click on it, they want to see it, cool, more power to them. So you put that little spoiler tag and it's going to give you that box there. And you're going to just paste your screen cap in there and it'll go in as JPEG. And while that is updating, let's just do a final save on that final form there. And then what we're going to do so that we capture all inputs and outputs, we don't have any actual outputs, but we want to make sure all the input files are attached with it. So we've saved the workflow itself, but that's just the skeleton through which the data passes. If you want the data included, you've got to go to export workflow, and then it'll zip it all up in a nice, tidy package. So save that. It's exporting the workflow into the downloads folder where we have it all. Let's go here. And then if someone likes the look of our solution and says, I'd like to see how they did that, they can go straight in there. And then right here, this green icon, the blue icon is just the workflow. The green icon is the zipped up. You can insert that in there. And then they can pull that out and see all the data, input, output, everything. And that is your post. Usually I like to put a little note on here, how I liked it or what my thought pattern was. So let's just talk about what we did here. So great challenge. It's G capital E reg X. All right. And see you next week. Whatever, whatever word you like. And we're posting. No whammies, no whammies. And let's just see how she looks. We are on the last page. Right there, logdog 0411, open your spoiler. There you can see it. Then when you want to look at other people's solutions, you just open that spoiler. You can see kind of Kenda's done hers there. Most people kind of do that. And then you can just click that and take a look. And if it's well annotated, then they can see, okay, I can see what his thinking was through some of these steps. Easy day. And that is a submission. Any questions? We didn't get any strangers to show up. Now I've got to go find a stranger at the gym to talk to. Dang it. Strangers all failed me. I know all you guys. Melina, Fernando, Abe. God, I know Abe. Probably better than I want to. All right. Anybody got any questions? Do you guys enjoy it? How's my delivery? Yeah. What's up, Fernando? So I've got my laptop over here where I'm checking things. All right. That is about all there is to it. I think it's time for dinner. Oh, we got 4 now. Oh, wait, yeah. Fernando, number 4. All right. Hey, thanks you guys for anybody that watches this video later. I hope you managed to follow along with what I was doing. If you have any tips or pointers, I'd like to use this to create content going forward. Obviously, I'm excited. It's my, today marks 1 week that I've been working at Alteryx. So I got to say again, this has nothing. This is not my job at Alteryx, and this is nothing official. Alteryx sanctioned. I just really like doing these challenges, and it's kind of my life mission now to get them all done. So, all right, delivery's on point. Would you tell me if it wasn't? Be honest. All right. Yep, that is a solid hour, and that was what I meant to do. So, appreciate you guys for coming and hanging out. See you later.